LEGO Breaking Bad was a game released during November 2011 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Developed by TNT Games and published by WBIE, the game flew under most people's radars. I rarely come across anyone nowadays who even remembers this game. Perhaps this was because TNT's games usually cater towards younger audiences, and this was their first attempt at trying to crack into the mature game market with their LEGO formula. Today I wanted to sit down and give my honest thoughts on the game. I played this game a lot as a kid with my older brother, but we never finished the game. In fact, I think we only made it to Season 3. But now, I'm much more older, much more mature, got a much more analytical brain. So after a brief playthrough, I'm gonna see if this game really was an underrated classic, or a game that I should have never remembered existed. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that most of TNT's LEGO games share the same formula. Light combat, light platforming, light puzzle solving. Well, LEGO Breaking Bad is no different. If you played any of the other LEGO games, you can have a good sense of how most of the levels in this game will play out. Well, unless you're the Skywalker Saga, which thought it would be a great idea to actually get rid of the platforming.
Do you know what that means? That means when Knack walks over to a gap, it turns into a cutscene of him jumping over it. Welcome to the game, Knack.
The game is divided into 5 seasons, each season having 5 levels, meaning there's 25 levels in total. Every level both begins and ends with a fully narrated cutscene.
Hey, it's me. Wait for the thing.
Jesse, you are now 42 minutes late. I'm starting without you.
Personally, I prefer the silent cutscenes in the older LEGO games. When they can't speak, they have to get more creative with how they tell the story, so they do it through body language or props. It just adds a lot of charm and personality that I think that the fully narrated LEGO cutscenes don't have. But this is entirely a nitpick, so I'm gonna move on. In traditional LEGO fashion, your first go around in every level is automatically put in story mode, meaning you have to go through the level as the character's present in the story. But on repeat playthroughs, the game gives you the option to play in free play. Free play lets you play any character in any level regardless of if they're there or not in the story. In my opinion, this is the best way to experience the game. My favorite character is Walter Jr. Although he moves slow, he gets to attack with his crutches, which gives him a lot more range than the characters that fight with their fists. Also, it's really funny to see Walter Jr. cook meth with Gus. The levels are pretty standard for LEGO games, you run around, you beat things up, you build things, it's all stuff we've done before. The only real unique mechanic in this game, to separate from the other LEGOs, is the shovel. Certain characters in the game, such as Walter, Jesse, Hank, Steve, and Jack, they all have shovels, and if you pay close enough attention during levels, you can sometimes find hidden loot buried beneath the ground. Usually, you find studs, but sometimes shovels are required to progress in the level, like in Season 3, Level 5. I'd say some of the puzzles in the game are a bit harder than other LEGO games, but they're usually never too hard. This is probably just because they're trying to cater to a more mature audience, so maybe they decided to try out a bit harder puzzles. I won't lie to you though, I did look up the answers to some of the puzzles. Particularly though, the breakfast puzzles. God, do I hate these puzzles. By far the worst sections of this game. Walter Jr. is a man whose hunger is eternal. So, to explain what these are, some levels begin with a little puzzle where you have to cook Junior some breakfast as Walter White. Problem is, the game doesn't exactly tell you what Junior wants to eat, or even gives you any kind of hint, so you end up having to do trial and error cooking up all sorts of meals until you finally get whichever one he'll eat that morning. It's stupid, and you have to do it far too often in this game, and it would have been way better if they just cut this part out. Maybe they did this to pad the time, I don't know. Also, little interjection here, but I do think it's kind of clever that there's a hidden achievement you can get for serving Junior vegan bacon in the first level of Season 1. The achievement is called I'm Not Eating That Crap. The last comment I have on the gameplay is that I loved how they handled the fight between Walter and Jesse in Season 4 Level 5. So I never mentioned it before, but as per usual in LEGO games, the entire game can be played in co-op. Even in scenes where in the show only one character was present, the game will insert another character to accompany them. For example, in Season 5, Level 3, you have to play as Hank and you have to platform your way to the White family's master bathroom. And if you're playing in 2 players, Steve Gomez is there to accompany you. In this case, the second player is more about escorting Hank to the bathroom. So anyways, in the Jesse versus Walter White boss fight, if you have 2 players, you guys can actually fight each other. Of course, no matter who wins, the cutscene always shows a draw, but give and take, I guess. It's still really cool to be able to fight your friends as Jesse or Walter. So overall, the gameplay is honestly exactly what I expected from a LEGO game. A bit disappointing. I think they could have done a bit more with it. Like I said, the only really unique thing here is the shovel. There is a little cooking mini game, but it's mostly just a cutscene and you have to button mash. But you know, there's still a whole other side to this game. The story. And maybe it can pleasantly surprise me. Okay, so if you've seen Breaking Bad, you pretty much know the entire story of this game. The game goes through all 5 seasons, but it doesn't go through the El Camino movie. Although I'm only now realizing that's probably because the game was released in 2011. But hey, I'm still hoping for that El Camino DLC. The best part of the game is seeing all your favorite scenes from the shows retold in the LEGO format. Even though the cutscenes are all narrated, you still get a lot of the classic LEGO slapstick charm. So it can add a bit of humor to a lot of otherwise really tense scenes. Another thing is that the story moves way faster in the game than does the show. For example, Jane is first introduced in the opening cutscene of a level, and then she's immediately killed in the closing cutscene. So you know, it's kinda hard to care about a character when you only see them twice. Also, the plane crash was only like 7 seconds long, and all of the build up to it, and the whole coping that Walter did afterwards, all that is completely removed. I wish they did make that cutscene a bit more serious though, because it was a bit too goofy for a tragedy where hundreds of people died. I do know, however, some of you will be really happy to know that Fly has been completely removed from the game. There is no cutscene, there is no level, there is no reference at all to that episode of the show. Now look, there was one change they made that I think was maybe taking it a bit too far. This is a change that I don't really understand, because this is just a LEGO game. Actually, you know what, let me tell you what it is first, what they changed. And now this is going to blow some of your guys' minds. So before I spill the beans on what they changed, I just want to say that I have no problem with diversity in games and shows, obviously, but I do think that taking pre-existing characters and fundamentally changing them for the sake of diversity, and practically turning them into entirely new characters just for the sake of that diversity, I think that's pretty dumb because it takes me out of the immersion. Because no way can I believe that these 2 people are the same character. Anyways, with that disclaimer, let me show you what Ted Beneke looks like in the show Breaking Bad. Do you see this man? What a handsome young fellow. I don't really see what was wrong with him. Spoiler alert, I liked the game.
Yes! Yes!
Probably just because I like Breaking Bad, and having any kind of Breaking Bad content, and especially a Breaking Bad game, is pretty cool, I won't lie. But in a really strange way, I feel like the LEGO style kind of fits really well with Breaking Bad. Because for as how serious the show is, there were some really funny moments in my opinion.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
Sadly, I completely get why this game didn't sell well. TNT's primary market for this game were people who had seen Breaking Bad. Because if you haven't actually seen the show, then this game kinda sucks. The best part of the game is being able to exist in the Breaking Bad world. And that whole value is completely lost to anyone who hasn't seen the show. But sadly, the adults who've seen the show aren't going to be interested in a Lego game, and the kids who love Lego games aren't going to be interested in Breaking Bad. Here, take a look at this Venn diagram I just threw together. You know, maybe that's why me and my brother never finished the game as kids. Maybe we just got bored with it. What the hell, is that Lego Jesus? Well, this was TNT's first and only shot into bringing the Lego game to a more mature world. And it failed miserably.
You failed!
But you know what? Maybe we can dream. Maybe next year we're gonna have Lego Better Call Saul. But for now, they're probably gonna stick to what they do best. I'm Cole and I make bangers. Goodbye.